Good evening, crafting friends. I'm Doreen DeCibas from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Simply Stamping Sunday. I'm so happy you're able to join me tonight, even with the crazy time change. It always gets me. I don't know about you, but I actually, it just does me for a number for a couple of days. Well, we're starting a new month for our Simply Stamping Sunday, and so that means we're using a new stamp set. And this is the Peaceful Evergreens stamp set. It does come as a bundle, so it does come with lots and lots of dies, but we're not going to be using it as a stamp set tonight. It is a cling stamp set. It is part of the Season of Elegance suite, and it comes with two stamp sets, the Peaceful Season and the Peaceful Evergreens, and we're going to be using both of these stamp sets this month. Hi Bonnie, hi Angela, and tonight, just because I needed a really big stamp, I am using one stamp from the Greetings of the Season. So before we get started, I just wanted to share with you the beautiful Season of Elegance Designer Series paper. So it comes in 4 colors, and it comes in 2 designs of gold. You'll see has the ones that have it in the middle with little dots of gold all around it, and it also has some that's just kind of randomly placed all over the Designer Series paper, and it does have some of those gold dots, but not as many. So this is the Cherry Cobbler. The back side of it is just a nice, Cherry Cobbler distressed look. This is the pretty Peacock, and here is the back of that one. This is the Old Olive, and then we have the same type of background. And then finally we have the Basic Beige, and that's what its background looks like. So they're just beautiful sheets of paper, and I couldn't resist, so we're using them tonight. So we're going to be making 3 cards with this set. Let me just get out all of the paper that we're going to need and get out my samples. And we're going to start with the real red piece. There we go. So let me just move these out of the way. All right, so for cardstock for this, you are going to need a 4 1/4 by 11-inch piece of crumb cake cardstock. There we go. You are also going to need a piece of crumb cake that it measures 4 1/8 by to be able to go right on the front of the cardstock. You're going to need a piece of the Designer Series paper. So pretty, isn't it? And this measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and we're just going to attach this right to the front of the card to start. I really like trees, and this is probably the first tree set that I've really liked since Lovely as a Tree. That was like my all-time favorite Stampin' Up set. But this is a close second, and I hope it stays in the catalog because I just really like it. Hi Lynn, thanks for joining. And then these pieces are too big. I'm going to cut them down, but I wanted something so that I wouldn't have to worry about stamping in a small border. But right now these pieces measure I'm going to need 1 by 1 7/8, and this piece here measures 4 1/8 by 2 7/8. And then I have just 2 scraps of early espresso, and then a piece that's going to work for that one. Okay, so I'm going to do my stamping first. So I'm going to need this open, and oh, I don't think I've shown you the card we're going to make. This is the card that we're going to make, our first one, and it's going to look like this. Just a nice, simple Christmas card. So I'm going to start by stamping in my Old Olive ink. And then I am going to stamp one of these trees right in to the right, and then I'm going to stamp its with the second generation ink right off here to the side. I'm just going to close this for now so I don't get lots of stuff messed up. And then I'm going to be stamping on the inside of the card. This goes with the front greeting, a season of wonder and happiness. So the front is going to say, wishing you and yours. So I'm going to add this to the inside. There we go. And while I've got the red out, let's just stamp this piece here. I'll move that out of the way. And we'll be using wishing you and yours. And then I'll cut that so that it will fit nicely on the front of the card. I wanted this towards the bottom, but I also didn't want to worry about having a small piece to try to get it to fit on. So now what I need is to stamp the trees again, and I am just going to take my sheet and put this down just so I don't get a lot of ink everywhere. And I am going to stamp this with this tree, and I'm going to be stamping it with the first and second generation inks. So we get a nicely stamped, like a little forest. So I'm going to start with full ink, and then that second generation ink. And this is going to give me a really nice, it's going to look like we have layers in the forest, that we have some trees close to the front and some trees off in the back. And we have room for a total of 5 trees. And there we go. All right. Now, let's just see if I need to trim this a little bit. I'm going to trim this just a little bit because I'm going to be putting some brown on the edges. So let me just trim everything right now that I need. So I want to take just a little bit off so that I can layer this with some brown. So there's that piece off. And then I'm going to take my label and I'm going to cut that to 1 7/8 because I'm going to cut this to 2. I mean, yes, to 2. Well, no, it's already cut to 2. This is 7/8. I'm going to cut it to 1. Excuse me. There we go. That's all the cutting we should have to do tonight. Okay, so this is going to go right on that layer. There we go. So that's all done. And then I cut these are just 3/4 inch pieces. And I cut them a little longer, just to give me some leeway so I can trim them off. And what I'm going to want to do is add enough of the brown so that it looks like we have it on a piece of cardstock, but I want that to come to either side. So I'm going to need about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to mount this on one side and then mount this on the other side. And then I'm just going to trim these edges. And let's see if that's going to fit or if I need to trim anything else. Nope, that looks pretty perfect. So I'm going to add this to the front of this. So I'm just going to add some adhesive. And then I'm going to put this towards the top of this piece. Just like that. And then I'm going to tear this piece. When you tear towards you, you get that nice edge that has kind of been frayed a little bit. So it really gives it a nice edge to it. If I tear the other way, it's still an edge, but it doesn't give you that where you see the inside of the cardstock, and I really like that. So let me just get these scraps out of the way. This is going to go on the front of the card. Like that. I want to be able to see the gold below it. On earlier with dimensionals, but I am going to put it flat this time because I think I'm going to like that better. Yes, I agree. It is a great masculine card, Bonnie. There we go. And now I'm going to put this on, but I'm going to use dimensionals for this. And let's get these off the background. We're going to have a lot of fun with this set this month. It is just, we're going to make some really beautiful Christmas cards and holiday cards. And then I'm just going to add this to the front. And there is our first card. So we have this on the outside, and then it's just as pretty on the inside. Okay, let's go on to card number 2. Love this one. I'm going to leave this out because I'm going to need it. So for this one, we're going to use Peacock as our main color. We're going to be adding some of the basic beige, and then on the inside, it's just going to look like this. So let's get started on this one. So let me get the materials and tell you what we have here. So we have a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 pretty Peacock cardstock. We have a piece for the inside that measures very vanilla, that measures 4 by 5 1/4. For the front, we have a piece of crumb cake that measures 4 1/8, yes, by 5 3/8. Then we have a piece of the really pretty Season of Elegance Peacock paper, and it measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. We have a piece of the Beige paper from the same designer series paper, and it measures 1 1/2 by 4 7/8. We have another piece of vanilla that measures 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And this piece measures 1/2 inch by 2 1/2 inches. And then we have another piece of Peacock that measures 4 1/8. This card put together. All right. So let's start with our stamping. So we have 3 areas that need to be stamped. All right, so we're going to start with, I'm going to need the large tree, and I'm going to be using the smaller tree that I had out. There is another tree that also goes along with this set that is smaller. It's kind of in the third smallest, and then we have a set of smaller trees that we're going to use in the next card. Okay, so we've got that clean. All right, so I have somehow misplaced I've misplaced a stamp set and an ink pad that I was using with that stamp set. Of course, it's the Pretty in Peacock. So I just took a little spot, and I am using it to, I inked it up with the Pretty Peacock ink, and now I'm using it for this. So that's where this is coming from and how I'm getting this stamp set, this ink. And then I'm going to stamp the inside with this, hoping this season is bright and beautiful. There we go. So that's going to go in on the inside of the card. On the front of the card, we're going to have a little stamp that says Joy and Love to You, using this same Pretty Peacock ink. I would have never guessed that this would be a favorite of mine during the holidays, and it really has turned out to be a favorite color combination to use with my cards. And this paper that we have just, okay, so then finally we are going to do the same technique we've been doing, ink it up full ink, stamp it, and then stamp second generation. We are going to be using this stamp set in our stamp camp, so I'm really excited about that. And if you need more information about the stamp camp, just let me know and I will get it for you. It is going to be on November 23rd, but if you can't make the live and you want to attend a to-go version, I will be happy to offer that as well. So I'm just going to put a smaller tree here and then go over here. Okay, so we have a really nice front with all of those trees. Now let's put the card together. So So as I said, we're going to be using this set, some of the designer series paper, but we're going to be using a couple of tree sets to make a trio of really beautiful, elegant cards. So that is something to definitely look forward to if you're in the area and you want to attend, or you want to drive down or up, or like I said, you can message me and we can talk about a to-go option. The only thing about a to-go option is that I can't give you stamped images, so you'd have to use your own stamps that you might have. Okay, there we go. So now let's just add our layers. Another thing I love about this set, this paper, it just yearns for layers. And if you know me well, you know how much I love layering my cards. I just think it just makes them so much more elegant and fun. Okay, so let's get this in the inside. And one of the things I really like about this particular set, the Season of Peace, has some really wonderful sentiments, and they have sentiments that match, like I did on the first card, that you can put a sentiment on the front and then have one that will fit right in the inside as well. So it really finishes the card. I know my mother would love that. She hated it when I would leave the inside of a card blank. She always wanted something on the inside as well. So I'm just adding that little accent piece to the front of the card, and I think the two pieces of designer series paper really work well together. And then when you put it all together on the card, it just comes together nicely. So all we have to do now is add our front panel. With all of this gold on the paper, the cards do not miss not having any bling or ribbon. The designer series paper just takes care of all of that and making a simple card a very simple, elegant card. So now we're just going to add this to the front like this. And there is card number 2 for this week. And then on the inside, it looks like this. Beautiful, beautiful cards. All right, so card number 3, we're going to be going with Old Olive. And this is the card we are going to be making. And you can see why I need it to have this little design I wanted to do. I needed this from the Christmas greetings set. Okay, so let's get started on this one. So unlike the other 2 cards, this one measures 5.5 by 8.5. So I'm just going to fold that in half. And this card is going to be going not the horizontal, but the vertical. I mean, not the vertical, but the horizontal. So we have that piece. We also have a piece of 4 by 5.25 that will go on the inside. Then we have a piece of the beautiful Old Olive designer series paper that measures, let me take a peek, get the second page, that measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then we have a piece of the Cherry designer series paper that measures 1.5 by 5. We have 2 scraps of the Old Olive to go on the outside of our label. Then we have a piece, again, this is a bigger piece than I need. We're going to be cutting it, but I'm starting with a piece that measures 2.5 by 3. It's going to end up being 2.5 by 3. It's actually right now 2.5 by 4.25, but we're going to cut that. And then these 2 pieces, we have a piece of Old Olive that measures 2 by 5, and then we have a piece of Very Vanilla that measures 1 7/8 by 4 7/8. Okay, so we'll use the back side of this one now. All right, so let's do all of our stamping. So we're going to be stamping this piece, we're going to be stamping this piece, and we're going to be stamping this piece. So like I said, the greeting comes from the greetings of the season, and this is "May your holiday season be filled with warmth and cheerful celebration." This is a really fun stamp set as well for your Christmas greetings. I really like that you're able to mix and match different fonts in this set. So it's pretty fun. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stamp this toward the bottom, and then I'm going to cut it so it's nice and centered, and I don't have to worry about centering it while I'm stamping it. So we stamp that in the Old Olive ink. Just going to close this for a moment. And then we're just going to trim to 3 inches. Actually, I can trim it. No, I think I'm going to keep it at the 3 inches. Could have gone a little lower, but I'm not worried about that. So we'll set that aside. We're going to take, on this one, we're going to be using the smaller trees, evergreen trees. And so I am just going to be stamping this in Old Olive. And I am going to stamp it once and then stamp it again to give it that, feel of a forest. to let you see that up close. And then for this, I am going to be stamping, doing the same thing. Stamp once, and then stamp a second time. And I'm just going to go right across the paper. There we go. And that's what our forest looks like. Close up. So pretty. So that's all the stamping we're going to do. So now we can put this card together. It's another quick and easy card. Okay, let's get the stamps out of the way. So to start with, this piece is going to go on the inside of our card. There we go. We'll set that aside. This piece is going to go on to the long piece of old olive. So we're just going to, and then before we go any further, I am going to be adding this to the bottom of this. We're going to be tearing some of it off, so I'm going to add it so that there's a big piece under it, so we'll have something to you know, have a lot of room to tear. But on this one, if I tear this forward, the core of this paper is white, and I don't want that white showing. So I'm actually going to tear it from, so you can see the white on this side. I just didn't want that white to be showing on the front, so by tearing it the way I did, I'm just going to get the torn look here on the front. So we'll get that out of the way. This is going to go right in the middle of this piece of Season of Elegance paper. So I'm just going to add some adhesive, and we'll put this right across the middle, centering it on both sides. There we go. And this is going to go onto the front of the card. And now let's fix the greeting. I mean, this just looks so pretty just by itself. You don't need a lot more to add to that, but we're going to add this greeting. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a little strip of the adhesive, and I am going to mount this on about 1/8 of an inch. Went over just a little bit here, so I'm going to just trim this right there. It's nice and straight, except for this one little section. We'll just cut that off. There we go, and then we'll cut the tops off. Okay, we're going to use dimensionals on this as well. And And we'll just take off the backings and add this to the front. And that is our third card. So which one is your favorite? I know for me that's a hard one. So let's do the ones we made live. So we made this one today, we made this one today, and we made this one today. So those are the 3 cards that we made today. And I hope you're ready for a fun month of this series with these stamp sets. So I will be back Friday night for Fun Filled Friday, and of course I'll be back next Sunday night for another edition of Simply Stamping Sunday. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I will see you on Friday. Take care, everyone. Good night.